I want to look at Genesis 1:26-28, which he referenced to a lot in that quote. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness." This is hugely significant to the purpose of man. And we're going to explain here in a second what does it mean that man was made in, what does it mean that man was made in the image and the likeness of God? And he says, "Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the heavens, over the livestock, and over all the earth, and again, over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." I think within that, there's an insinuation, I believe, of Satan and the powers of darkness that were in the earth. God was telling them to rule and have dominion over them. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. God created man in his own image. And God blessed them. God said to them, "Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the heavens and over every living thing that moves on the earth." This is telling us right here, I think, as we unpack this, as we study this more, as we talk about this more, as we learn more what is being said here, this is telling us, I believe, your purpose on earth and my purpose on earth. This is answering the question of why are we here? Why do human beings exist? What is my purpose? What is my destiny? So God chose to partner with his creation, mankind, to refill the earth with his kingdom and to subdue the enemy powers of darkness. What does it mean that humanity was made in the image of God? Mankind was created to be a physical, visible representation and expression on earth of who God is, his character, what he's really like. Mankind was created with the capacity and purpose of showing forth in the universe the perfect goodness and holy character of God, and as his ambassadors and representatives to spread his light, truth, peace, and righteousness through all of creation. So we are made in the image of God. God made creatures that could uniquely express and communicate in the world his character, who he is and what he's like. Human beings are creatures that were made with a unique ability and capacity like this, to bear God's image. We were created in his image. No other creature was created this way. Birds, fish, the beasts of the field, all the other animals that were created, nothing else was made in the image of God. Nothing else was made with the ability to show forth in creation the character and nature of God, to represent fully God on the earth. So I don't think the image of God here has anything really to do with the physical characteristics of man, especially like the female and male aspects. God is not a human man, and he's not a female. That's not the point. I think male and female, both together, when both male human beings and female human beings together are operating as they were intended to in a faith-based relationship with God, together they express the image of God more fully. Man alone, the male aspect of humanity alone, doesn't fully and as perfectly represent and tell us about God as it does when both male and female together are functioning as God created them to be. That is a more full and perfect image of God being expressed. And so God wanted the aspect of male in humanity and the aspect of female, the differences that both of us bring to the table. When those are operating together, as God intended, that is the full expression, the expression of God's image that God created humanity to function in. I think all this, ultimately, again, it comes down to, I think, the character of God that's being expressed. It's who God is, his glory, that mankind was made with the ability to represent in the earth. This is going to be explained a little bit more as we look at these 5 purposes that Genesis 1:20 gives, that God gives for man. He tells them to be fruitful. So when I see this, what I immediately think of is Galatians, I think it's 5, and the fruit of the Spirit. So mankind was made to function and operate in consistently with the fruit of the Spirit. We were made to be creatures that consistently never moved out of experiencing and expressing characteristics like love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, self-control, etc. These are the characteristics that mankind was made to function in and operate in. I think this analogy hopefully will help us understand this. So I'm going to draw a kind of bad illustration, but a lamp is designed with a specific purpose and function. It's designed to give light, right? But if a lamp is going to give light, it has to be plugged into a source. The way a lamp is designed is that it can't operate the way it's supposed to unless it is plugged into the source. Its components were made and designed in such a way that it's dependent on another source. A lamp by itself, it might be, have some cool designs and it might look good and look cool, but it's not really serving its intended function unless it's plugged into the source. And when it is, it performs what it's supposed to do. It gives light. In the same way, we as human beings, we have these 5 purposes that God gives man, but unless we're plugged into God as our source, we can't do what we're supposed to do. We can't be what we're supposed to be. Because human beings are created as creatures who are designed in such a way that we're designed and our components, our makeup, was made to be dependent on God by faith. So in this analogy, the cord, the cable that connects us to the power, in the analogy, it's faith. It's trust. We are made to be creatures that must be in a trust, faith-based, childlike relationship with our Creator. As we're answering this question of what is the purpose of humanity, what is our purpose as individuals, I think it's important to have at the foundation this understanding that none of this can work. None of this can work for us. And this purpose that God has for us, we will never find, we will never reach, we will never discover or walk in until we connect to God by faith. So he tells them, be fruitful, the fruit of the Spirit. I think this is a really helpful way to understand what it means that human beings are created in the image of God. And I think what's helpful to me to understand what that means. What does it mean? What does the image of God mean? What does it mean that we are created in his image? Well, part of that, I think, is the fact that human beings can express and operate in the fruit of the Spirit. We can manifest things like love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, self-control. We can manifest those outwardly to other people, and we can experience those things inwardly. We can experience inward peace, joy, hope, faithfulness, goodness, and we can express those to others in our relationships in the world. Animals can't do that. Animals cannot express these attributes of God. The fruit of the Spirit, ultimately, these are attributes of God. These are not things that we can manifest up out of ourselves. I cannot grit my teeth and try hard enough and just try to be a loving person, to have peace, to have joy. The only time I've ever experienced any of those things is when, like a lamp, I plug in to the power source by faith. When I plug in, what happens? What happens when a lamp plugs into the wall? It doesn't have to try. It doesn't have to work and effort and strive to make light. Light just happens naturally. When we put our faith and trust in God, when we humble ourselves and just embrace what God speaks in his word, and we say, I believe this, I embrace it as true, and I receive it for my life personally. That's like us plugging into that wall. And what that's naturally going to do, in the same way that light will naturally, automatically happen by being plugged in, when we plug into God by faith, we will naturally manifest the light, this light of the fruit of the Spirit. The fruit of the Spirit is light to the world.